right, everybody, welcome back to Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR. I'm Gonzo.
And this is Mike.
Hey, we're looking at movies, some of the best and worst of the 80s, 90s, and beyond. We're still in the 80s, Mike. You good with that?
I am good.
All right, so we're going to give you our take, make a recommendation. We're also going to rate each movie. So today is going to be a good one. Let's go ahead and get started. Is your cell phone silenced, Michael?
It's off.
All right, so for Halloween here, this is one of your picks, and you didn't put it on the original list, but you kept mentioning it. I think you've mentioned it in three different episodes. The movie for Halloween that we're going to do here is the 1987 comedy horror directed by Joel Schumacher. It's The Lost Boys. So I looked into this movie a little bit, Mike, and this film made 32.2 million at the box office. The budget was 8.5 million, so it's not as wasn't as huge of a blockbuster as some of the movies we've looked at, but it does sort of like have a cult following, right? So now Roger Ebert, I looked up way back in 1987. He gave it 2.5 stars out of 4. He said it was flawed but eminently watchable. And he said the teen vampire thriller blends horror, humor, and plenty of visual style with some standout performances from a cast full of young 1980s stars. So he liked the cast. He said it was watchable, but it's flawed, right? So this film won a Saturn Award, which I've never heard of. Have you heard of the Saturn Awards,
No,
Mike?
that
Okay,
doesn't even ring a bell.
yeah, a Saturn Award for Best Horror Film at the 15th Saturn Awards in 1987. And it got a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. So there's the movie, right? Now, for those who haven't seen it or maybe haven't seen it in a while, Mike, since this is your pick, I'm going to let you explain the plot very quickly. All right, go for it, man.
Sure. So Gonzo, the Lost Boys starts out with Lucy Emerson, played by Diane, I think it's Weiss. She's a recently divorced mom who's moving from Arizona with her two sons, Michael, played by Jason Patrick, and Sam, played by Corey Haim. And they're moving to the coastal town of Santa Carla, California, which is actually Santa Cruz, but in the movie it's Santa Carla. They move in with Lucy's dad, who's a quirky, pot smoking taxidermist who lives out in the hills. And at first, Santa Carla seems like your typical 1980s beach town. It's got bright lights, boardwalk rides, live music. But at the same time, there are missing person posters everywhere. But the locals just kind of act like that's just part of life here. So Michael, the older brother, starts hanging out with the boardwalk crowd and notices a girl named Star, played by Jamie Gertz. And she's part of a local biker gang led by David, who's played by Kiefer Sutherland. He's a bleach blonde, leather jacket, total 80s cool. Michael gets drawn in trying to impress Star, ends up tagging along with David and his gang. So they take Michael out to their hangout, which is an old hotel that collapsed into a cave after an earthquake that happened about 100 years earlier. And during what looks like an initiation, they hand him a bottle to drink. What Michael doesn't realize or know at the time is it's David's blood. So after that, things get weird really fast. Michael starts feeling sick, he can't handle sunlight, and his reflection in mirrors start to fade. He doesn't know what's happening yet, but of course we do. He's turning into a vampire, just like David and his biker buddies. Meanwhile, Michael's younger brother Sam spends a lot of time at a comic book shop on the boardwalk where he meets the Frog Brothers. Edgar, played by Corey Feldman, and Alan, played by Jamie or Jameson Newlander. They work there and take their vampire comics very seriously. They hand Sam some horror comics, tell him they're actually a survival guide for living in Santa Clara, Carla, which they claim is crawling with vampires. So when Michael's strange behavior gets harder to hide, like he starts floating outside Sam's bedroom window, Sam starts believing what the Frog Brothers have been telling him. So while all this is happening at the same time, Lucy, their mom, has no idea what's going on. She starts dating her new boss, Max, who's played by Edward Herman, who runs the local video store, and he seems like a genuinely good dude. The Frog Brothers think he's the head vampire because of several things Sam told them. But when they go through and try to put him through all the usual vampire tests like garlic, mirrors, holy water, he passes every one of them. Eventually, Michael learns that Star is also half vampire, and the only way for both of them to turn human again is to kill the head vampire. So Sam, the Frog Brothers, Star, Laddie, which is a much younger half vampire, and Michael gear up for the final showdown. They lure the whole vampire gang to Grandpa's house and turn it into a war zone. They've got holy water and squirt guns, and in the bathtub, a lot of garlic, wooden stakes, everything. So they managed to take out David and the rest of his crew toward the end of the movie, but Michael doesn't change back, which means they haven't killed the real head vampire. And that's when Max shows up and reveals he was behind it all along. The gang, David's gang, worked for him, and his plan was to turn Lucy and her family into his vampire family. The reason that none of the vampire tests worked on Max is because Michael invited him into the house at one point during the movie. And anybody familiar with traditional vampire legends knows that a vampire cannot enter a residence unless invited by the rightful owner or somebody that lives there. So just like it looks like Max is about to win, Grandpa comes back to the house, drives his truck straight through the wall, and impales Max on a giant wooden stake, killed him instantly. And the movie ends with Grandpa grabbing a drink and saying one thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach: all the damn vampires.
Yeah, there you go. The only
Yeah,
other thing I'd have to add
yeah,
is that when, just for people's clarity, when you say they're half vampires, Michael, Star, Laddie are not full vampires because they haven't made their first kill, right?
right.
So and then they would be a full vampire with like no turning back. But they're on the road to vampiredom, so to speak. So, all right, so that's pretty good. Pretty good. Uh, take on what the movie is about. There's a lot of specific things that we'll talk about. When did you first see this movie? I know because you've talked about this before. You have seen this before. This is your pick, obviously, and you saw it on that vacation that you took way back in the day when you were a young guy, right?
That's it, Gonzo. I was 15 years old. I was on a trip with my buddy's family, and like you remember, on that trip, we stopped off in Savannah on our way to Panama City Beach, and during that week, we saw the Lost Boys, we saw Can't Buy Me Love, and then my buddy just fell in love with Can't Buy Me Love, and of course, I was on a trip with his family, so hey, okay, we'll go see Can't Buy Me Love again.
Yeah, which is a shocker, right? Because I'm thinking a young guy would be like, "Oh, I'm going for Lost Boys almost every time,"
Oh yeah,
unless he's just so enamored with the young ladies in in Can't Buy Me Love. So, I can't remember exactly the first time I seen it. I saw this if it was in the movie theater. If I don't remember, but yeah, I've seen it several times before. Um, very first time I can't remember, and this is the type of thing that I've seen over the years. It's on a lot on your cable and things of that nature. So all right, so what's your first take on this? What was your first take when you were 15, Mike?
yeah, it's really hard for me to be objective. I loved everything about this movie. I love the music. If you take nothing else away from this movie, the music alone is awesome. The special effects. One big problem with vampire movies is that 90% of the vampire movies out there suck. No pun intended. They're low budget. They just throw some plastic fangs on some actors and think that with a little bit of nudity they're going to make money. They spent some money on this movie. They had vampires, the cast, the acting in this movie was better than it had any right to be, given that it was just supposed to be kind of a teen horror movie. I love the whole concept.
All right, all
How
right.
about you?
Yeah, I think it's entertaining. I think it's funny. It's not scary at all for me. Like there's not a point where I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm scared of it or anything. So,
I'm with you.
yeah. Some of the horror movies that like you get scared, like you think of The Conjuring and different things like this that really you can get sort of spooked when you're watching them.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, this thing just entertaining. I think entertaining and a lot of funny parts. Interesting to watch the vampire parts, but not scary
right.
for me. So I want to talk about the main characters. You mentioned some of them already, and I'll start with the family here, right? So the family. This is the Emerson family. So I think the first one I'm going to mention is Sam Emerson, which is Corey
Mhm.
Haim plays him. I feel like this is the lead in the movie. I've talked to people who said no, no, Michael's the
Mhm.
lead, and I don't think so. But how do you think Corey Haim did in this role?
Well, first of all, Gonzo, I think you brought up a good point, and in looking into this movie a little more, because we look at even movies we've seen before a lot deeper now that you and I are going to be talking about them, and it's funny because originally Corey Haim's character, Sam Emerson, would have absolutely, hands down, been the main character because it was kind of envisioned as a Goonies adventure movie. It didn't even turn into a horror, quote unquote, vampire movie until later on. But yeah, they wanted to kind of skew the main story more toward Michael's age. So in terms of Sam, and the character. I was honestly, I've never been a huge fan of, and you almost can't talk about one without talking about the other, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, because their careers were so intertwined. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first two Corey's movie. It kind of kicked off what would later turn into six movies and a reality show. But I've got to give it to Corey Haim. He was funny in this role. I think he had good timing. He was such a quirky character. Sam was into bubble baths, and I have to stop for just a second. I want to see if this kind of hit you. It was strange for me that I think Sam was supposed to be around 13 or 14 years old. So it was weird when Michael, the older brother's babysitting him. And one of the things that Michael had to do was make sure that Sam took his bath. I said, okay, that's almost kind of a little bit of forced plot because I can't relate to that. I also noticed Sam was into the Brat Pack. He had posters in his room of Breakfast Club, Molly Ringwald, Rob Lowe on his walls. And I did like the back and forth between Sam and Michael, with Sam being a typical pain as a younger brother.
Yeah, yeah. I thought he did a good job. I don't know. That's my question I have. How old is he supposed to be? Because, like,
Yeah,
yeah, taking a bath and the way he's talking to his mother and the way he runs to his mother when he's having problems is like he's like
yeah.
frantic. I mean, he's believable as a young guy. I would like to think he'd be about 15 and his brother's like 17, but I don't I think you're right.
Mhm.
Probably supposed to be a little bit younger than that. He comes off as a mama's boy to me in this. Like
Right.
he's not the toughest guy at all, and he's very worried all the time about what's going to happen. He's very scared of things. So, I mean, he plays the role well, I think. So that leads us to his big brother Michael, Jason Patrick. Um, I'll start here.
Sure.
It's a decent role. He does a good job. But and here, remember when I told you that my wife says she doesn't like this movie
Hmm.
when we talked last episode, and,
Yeah.
and and this is one of the reasons she said, and I agreed too. I had it in my notes before I even talked to her about why she wasn't a big fan. She said, this guy is way too influenced by peer pressure.
Hmm.
I mean, okay, he wants to follow the girl. I get it,
Yeah.
and because she's cute, she's great looking woman, and but then they're like, hey, drink this. Hey, come
Hmm.
out on this train bridge and hang off it with while the train comes by. Hey, go ahead and let go like the rest of us. Hey, drive your motorcycle at high speed toward a cliff like us. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he say, like, I'm not doing that? What are you, crazy? Like, he's way too influenced. I don't know if he's trying to fit in or what. I think he does decent in it. I don't know of any other roles. I didn't really research him, but it's just offhand, it doesn't come to me that I've seen Jason Patrick in much else. What about you? And how do you think he did?
Yeah, I liked him in the role, but I can agree with you and your wife because one thing I could say for sure, his behavior isn't out of character if he were like in middle school, because you don't see as many people getting ready to get out of school who are going to be that pushed into, hey, drinking something you don't even know what it's in with a big group that up until a few minutes ago looked like they wanted to beat your ass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm with you there. Uh, Another thing that occurred to me, and maybe it's only because Sam had a poster of Rob Lowe, I thought, you know what? Rob Lowe kind of had, I think he was around that age and could have almost pulled up off this role. There was almost a similar look to Rob Lowe.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
in terms of Jason Patrick, I will throw a few movies past you. You probably heard of some of these. He was good, and I think he really grew as an actor after this movie. Rush in 1991, Sleepers, 1996, Speed 2, which probably everybody could have done without. I've never even seen Speed 2. I don't think that was a movie anybody was asking for, at least unless you kept Keanu Reeves in it. And then Narc in 2002. So
Oh,
those were some good dramatic roles, with the exception of Speed 2.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So he's been in a few things. Um, and let's move on. You named her already, Diane Wiest.
Yeah,
Lucy Emerson, that's their mom.
sure.
Um, how did you think she did? And this is something another point where my wife had to chime when we had a discussion, and I'll talk about that in a
Oh
minute.
yeah. Well, to start off with, and I've told you before, Gonzo, uh, I'm quirky in that I like vampire movies. So there are particular things I like in this and don't like because I am such a huge fan of vampire movies. Anybody that likes vampire movies or has ever read Dracula, and I don't know if this was a nod to the novel or not, but the two main female characters in Dracula are Lucy and Mina. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if they kind of named her Lucy because, as we find out later, the head vampire, which would be Dracula, if this were a direct parallel, would be into her. In terms of Lucy, I mean, she was good in the role. She was a great '80s single mom. It does seem like we're seeing a pattern because we think of Ms. LaRusso from The Karate Kid, and although they didn't move from Jersey, I believe they were moving from Arizona, but
Yep.
everybody's moving out to the West Coast.
Yeah.
In terms of the actress herself, she has been in other roles that you may remember. She's been acting in since 1975. She was the preacher's wife in Footloose in '84.
Yep.
She was in The Birdcage in 1996, which was a really funny movie. And most recently, the thing that I've at least seen her in, she was like the main mom of the cops from 2021 to 2023 and Mayor of Kingstown,
Oh, really?
which is
Okay.
a show I really liked.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think she comes off as the perfect oblivious mom. That's the second reason that my wife said she didn't like this movie because she's like she's so oblivious. She's just not even there. It's
Mhm.
like she's too ditzy. There's some things that are obvious that are happening in front of her, and she's just not even picking up. And I guess as a mother herself, my wife's just like this wouldn't work. I would be questioning that. But she comes off. It's the perfect for a single mom to be like that, to give these kids all of the freedom that they're having to go have these, for Michael to get messed up with these vampires, and for Sam to be able to go meet the Frog Brothers. Like they've got so much freedom because she's just like barely holding all together. So great movie that I saw her in is Parenthood. That's with Steve Martin.
Okay.
That has Keanu Reeves in it. That has Rick Moranis in it. It's a really good movie. And she played a mom who was not oblivious in Parenthood,
Mhm.
but there were some funny moments in there. So
I
yeah,
would say, Gonzo, uh, I totally agree with you these days in terms of parenting. You and I grew up in the '80s. When I think of Ms. LaRusso, when I think of this mom and the latchkey generation, I was always out with my buddies, hanging out, doing Lord knows what. And most people didn't know where I was half the time. So I would just say, if we're talking about back in the '80s, it was just a different time.
yeah, it was, and I guess it matters who, my wife's mother at the time, obviously, probably she was a single child, and there's more
Right.
interaction. So maybe that's where she's coming off with that. But yeah, she does a good job. I want to transition to Grandpa. This is he's played by Bernard Hughes, and I'm telling you, Mike. I'll start here. He is almost my favorite character. I think he does a great eccentric grandpa with a lot of style, a lot of quirkiness. He's got his rules. of the house. I think that's great. He's given them all these rules and telling them who's in charge, and he keeps giving Sam these taxidermy like birds and rodents to keep him
Uh,
company in his new room, and Sam just puts them all in the closet. You'd think Grandpa would notice, but I think he does great in his role. And I can't say that I've seen him in anything else offhand either. But he's almost my favorite just because of his great job at being an eccentric old guy.
yeah.
What do you think about him?
I agree with you there. He was the coolest grandpa I've ever heard of. I personally never got to know either one of my grandfathers, but I could tell you from the stories that neither one was anyone like this dude. I mean, he had weed growing up right outside his house. Um, in terms of the actor himself, Bernard Hughes, unfortunately he passed away in 2006. He started acting way back in 1947 when he played Bob Cratchit in A Christmas Carol.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, oh yeah, it's way back, and he did a few movies, but he was mostly a TV actor.
Okay. Okay. So we haven't done this before, but we're going to round out the family with the dog Nanook.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and Nanook is played by a dog named Cody.
Hmm.
So what did you think about Nanook's role here? Because I think it was really quite a role.
Well, I love dogs, first to start off with, and I love huskies.
Okay.
For my personality, Husky is not necessarily the perfect dog. I've had some interaction with Huskies. They are incredibly intelligent. They are the most independent and stubborn dog that I've ever seen. They love to run away from you, even if they like you, because they want to play and they do not want to come back when they're having fun. This was Nanook. Nanook was a gorgeous Husky. Uh, I have never seen a husky myself get as aggressive as Nanook when Michael came upstairs to possibly attack Sam as he was becoming a vampire. But maybe I've just never gotten a husky that pissed off. And I will say, Gonzo, I could not find any previous roles for Nanook. So
Okay,
this
there
may
you
have
go.
been a one-shot deal.
This may have been. Yeah, I think the dog actually had a role. That's the thing. The dog
Right.
was in the scene, and I'm thinking they were trying to insinuate there when the dog
Hmm.
attacks and bites Michael's hand. Um, uh, I'm thinking they're trying to insinuate the dog senses something with Michael changing and becoming more like an animal or something. So the dog senses, hey, something's wrong here. I got to protect because his main person is Sam, right?
Right.
But he protects him there. He's in another scene at the end
Hmm.
where he's tied up outside. I don't know why you wouldn't keep the dog inside if you're going to be attacked by a bunch of vampires. If this dog,
That is exactly what I was thinking when I saw that scene. Yeah.
that's crazy. And um, this dog had a role in the film, like it was tied up, and Sam had to go get him, and then Michael had to go save Sam, and then they barely made it back into the house, and then totally, Nanook totally saved the Frog Brothers at the end in the bathroom upstairs, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, this dog had a role. Without this dog, Sam could get killed in the bathtub, and the Frog Brothers could be killed in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
It's a totally different movie, right? So
Hmm.
the dog played a huge role. So great job to Nanook, the dog Cody. So all right, we're going to switch over to the vampires now. Um, we're going to start with David. Now, okay, hold on. I want to tell you this. There's David, and then we're going to talk about each of them. Marco, Paul, and Dwayne, and then Max, the head vampire. Like, are these like these aren't good vampire names, right? Like I'm thinking these are names of like people that I'll be at my family reunion.
Stan and
Yeah,
Herb.
yeah. So, but anyway, David, played by Kiefer Sutherland,
Hmm.
he does a perfect job at making you not like him at all.
Yeah.
In this role because you're like, oh, he's bullying immediately. He's getting on the carousel, one of the first scenes, and flirting with some other people's girlfriends. He's just in your face, and he's pushing his role with the authority figure, the police officer or the security guard, whoever that guy was, and um, he just does a good job at playing that role, and he's believable to be like the young and not experienced but really looking forward to get more experienced vampire who's leading a crew like and I know you love the motorcycles, right? Because
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's your deal with you bring it up when we talked about Cobra Kai, etc., right? But
Hmm.
not Cobra Kai. What am I talking about? Karate Kid, right? So,
Yep.
but he does a perfect job at making you not like him at all. I remember him from Flatliners. I
Hmm.
remember him from A Few Good Men. Um, he plays. He's a good actor, even though he got into acting. I'm sure because of his dad is Donald Sutherland, right?
Yeah.
And he played a small role as a professor in Animal House. And my favorite role with his dad, Donald Sutherland, I have to throw
Hmm.
this in here because this is one of my favorites, even though this is from the 70s. He's in Kelly's Heroes,
Oh
um,
yeah.
as the tank commander, who's like not a hippie, but what do they call before like the 60s got there? He
Yeah.
was like I'm losing the name of it now, but he was close to a hippie as you could get back there in World War II. That movie's awesome. They do like a standoff, like Clint Eastwood in his spaghetti westerns, but it's with
Hmm.
guys and a tank. It's That's a
Oh
great movie.
yeah.
So people got to check that one out. But Kiefer, I think perfect pick for this role. What'd you
Mhm.
think?
Now, David was my favorite character.
Okay.
Uh, and again, I'm probably projecting what I'm about to say about this character. I'm probably projecting way too much onto this, but this is just the way I interpret him. Because Kiefer plays David, half enjoying being a cool 80s vampire. But in my opinion, we get glimpses throughout the movie of what at least I interpreted as like an underlying sadness or remorse or reflection. I don't know what you'd call it, but if you notice, there were multiple times when his laughter would fade into some sort of subdued, somber look. And again,
Mm,
I could be misinterpreting that, but and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But in terms of the other movies he was in, I've mentioned before, I love Young Guns 1 and 2. Never got a third one on that series, but I understand that Emilio Estevez is working on one. Uh, Kiefer was also in the 24 series, The Cowboy Way, and he does such a good job of playing a bad guy when he gets a chance. If you'll remember his role in Stand By Me in 1986, he was a
oh
complete
yeah.
tool.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, he plays a good bad guy, that's for
Yeah.
sure. So, all right. So, we're going to move on here quickly because these are small roles, but I mean they're important. David's crew. There's three guys. It's Marco, played by Alex Winter. Um, Paul, played by again these Paul. That's the vampire name. The guy with
Yeah.
the long hair and the leather jacket riding the motorcycle. His name's Paul,
And the
right?
other vampire, Sheldon.
Yeah, yeah. Paul, played by Brooke McCarter, and Dwayne, again, I think a bad vampire name, played by Billy Worth.
Yeah.
So, how do you think these guys did in their role? This sort of reminds me of like I want to bring this before you jump in here.
Yeah.
Sort of reminds me like David
Hmm.
Kiefer's is sort of like Johnny,
Uh-huh.
right? In
Yep.
Karate Kid, and these guys are some of the crew, right?
No,
So,
absolutely. That is exactly how I was seeing it because of all the parallels. And we've talked about how they had the same director. So I think you're spot on. In terms of the crew, they're entertaining. They definitely made you think. I'm not really seeing the downside of being one of these vampires. Uh, the whole effect to me, and I think it was intentional, they were sort of a hybrid between bikers and an 80s hair band.
yeah, yeah,
Because it was the mid 80s. In terms of the guys themselves, and you may feel differently. Marco was the only one that I remember before this movie, and he was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure with Keanu Reeves. Is the
yep.
only one I remember, and unfortunately, one of them, Brooke McCarter, passed away in 2015 at age 52.
Yeah, I think it was cancer or something, wasn't it? Something. I
I
thought
think
I
so.
read that. So yeah, these are small parts, but well done. It's almost like the same thing in Karate Kid. Like they're well done. You need them, they're there, but small part, and you could really get over without even knowing their name are Marco, Paul, and Dwayne, right? I don't think that's even really introduced. But
Yeah.
so yeah, it's Alex Winter, the one who plays Marco. He was the one from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. But I was going to ask, and I didn't research this, Mike. Which one was he, Bill or Ted? Do you know?
I don't. I knew you were going to ask me that.
Because he was with Keanu Reeves, right? So
I don't even think I paid attention when I actually watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I'm bad about that.
yeah, I'm not sure which one when it is, and I would argue that that Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, that's Alex Winter's biggest role, right?
Sure.
And then I would say second would be this one
Hmm.
for me personally. So,
Yeah.
but the guys do a good job, and they needed to be there. So, well, I labeled the next group the newbies because these are the newbies, the new vampires, right? Like you said, half vampire because they haven't made their first kill yet. I'll start here with
Yeah.
Jamie Gertz. She plays Star, and then there's Chance Corbett who plays Laddie. That's the little young kid. Um,
Hmm.
Gertz is gorgeous, perfect for the role. I think she does a great job acting as the tentative one who cares because she's not really there yet. She wants to save Michael, even though he was supposed to be her first kill when they went to the little lair and they were in bed together. Like that was supposed to be her first kill, but Michael sort of steals her away from David, so to speak. I
Hmm.
feel like in the movie. I don't know other films she was in, but based on looking at her and how she did, she should have been in some other films. She definitely should have. And I'm going to tell you, she's part owner of the Atlanta Hawks basketball team.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
She's half owner. Like it said in my research, her husband owns the other. So I don't know, how that happened, but I saw a
Yeah.
picture of her. They had a picture when I read a little bit about her as recently as 2010, and man, still gorgeous, looks great. Um, so I think she should have been in a lot of other films. I'm sure you're probably going to tell me that she has been in a lot. As far as Laddie, Chance Corbett, haven't seen him in anything. I didn't really do any research. It's a minimal part. I don't think you needed him in the
Hmm.
role to have this. It would have been just as fine without him. But I don't know. What did you think about those guys? Those
Yeah.
two.
I agree. I agree with you about Jamie. She's a very nice looking lady. Uh, I think she is a perfect example of what we mentioned earlier. This movie had better acting than this kind of film usually gets, and I think Jamie Gertz was a big part of that because not only is she nice looking, she's a talented lady. As far as her character, Star really took over a maternal role over Laddie, who you see Laddie, or who used to be Laddie, on the back of a milk carton at some point during the film,
Yep.
which is another kind of 80s reference. You remember, like I do, they used to put missing children on the back of milk cartons, which was sort of an interesting strategy. If I had to guess, it wasn't as effective as they had hoped, or I think we'd still be seeing that on the back of milk cartons. Um,
Yeah.
Laddie's big moment was when he vamped out in the last few minutes of the movie. Other than that, I totally agree. He didn't have a lot to do. And if I had to guess, it was sort of like residue left over from when they were planning on making a younger movie and focusing less on Michael's age group. Um, Jamie Gertz, like you said, she has been in some other things. I saw where she was in 16 Candles. I don't remember what role she was in, and she was in Less Than Zero. That's a movie I have never seen before. I probably need to watch that one. That's one of those retro movies that got away from me.
Yeah, that's with what's his name? The guy who plays the Iron Man, right? What's his name again? I'm
Yep,
losing.
Robert Downey
Yeah,
Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. There you go. Yeah, that I've seen that a long time ago. Don't remember her from it, but
Yeah,
all right, very good, very good. So, um, okay, the head vampire, Edward Herman. You told us his name already, and I'm going to throw in also his supposed hellhound, his hellhound Thorn, who plays a role in the movie. This is played by a dog named Folsom,
yeah,
and I'm just thinking, I got to tell you, I had to give a call out to Thorn because we gave a call out to Nanook, right? So, what
sure.
do you think about Edward Herman and his role as the head vampire?
Edward Herman, he did a good job. I mean, Max was, I think he did as good a job as he could, given what he was given, throwing goers off the scent of him being the head vampire. But to me, it kind of landed like those old Scooby-Doo cartoons.
Yes.
Uh, like a Scooby Doo, there was only one other person besides the gang that was in this episode. So who else is it going to be? It had to be him. He was the only other character it could be. We'd already met everybody else, unless they were going to bring in somebody we hadn't seen at all before. Um, and in terms of Thorn, This had a bigger impact on me than you would have guessed, Gonzo. When I saw this movie, we had had a couple of black and tan German Shepherds when I was growing up. I didn't even know there were white German Shepherds when I saw this movie. After the movie, uh, my family had a total of three white German Shepherds over the past 25, 30 years, something like that. So
Wow.
gorgeous dog. I just had to give a plug for white German Shepherds.
There you go. Wow. I didn't. So it was because you saw Thorn that your family got interested.
Yeah, I mean, we always loved German Shepherds,
Yeah.
but and my parents probably knew they came in white, but yeah, that's a gorgeous dog.
Yeah, I had a black and tan growing up, and then we had a black and tan, my wife and I, and we had an all black. And so, yeah, love German Shepherds, great dogs. So, again, Max, I guess this is the best out of the names of the vampires with such
Uh-huh.
normal names. It's better than Paul, right? Um, but so it's a little hard for me to believe him in his role that he would actually be the bad evil guy. Like he's playing such a nice guy.
hmm And
I
such a
think,
square.
yeah, and I think they're trying to throw you off purposely right at first with that. It's
Yeah,
just overly overdoes it. So it's hard for me to believe that role, but I mean he does okay. I thought he was funny in the scene when they were testing him with the mirror and how he gets
yeah.
scared, and then
The garlic.
they dump the water on his shirt. They give him garlic instead of Parmesan cheese, and like
Yeah.
he's like, it's just like he plays well there. He plays along with it, but he knows what's going on, right? So, um, as you're thinking about it, so
Let me pause right there
yeah,
for just 1 second, Gonzo, because you bring up a great point. And as somebody that loves vampire movies and the whole mythology and the novels and everything, that was one part that kind of bothered me a little bit because I've never seen anywhere else. Yeah, vampires can't enter unless you invite them in, but that
yes,
doesn't mean they become immune to everything that caused them issues before. So
that's
I'm sure there were other people that watched this that, yeah, that's
yeah. So still, holy water would hurt you, right?
yeah.
Still, your reflection wouldn't be in the mirror, and
Right.
still, garlic would be a problem for you. So,
hmm
I mean, if we're going to believe the whole vampire thing, if we got to suspend some disbelief just to talk about this, right? Um,
Exactly.
but we know what we're getting into when we watch a horror movie like that, right? So one thing I want to say about Thorn, and you said a little bit about the German Shepherd. We just talked about that. I would think that in this role they would use a black dog, but they're trying to throw us off again.
hmm
That they're just trying to throw us off to make us think, oh, we want to surprise you at the end. Like you're right. There's no one else it could be. Who could it be? Grandpa? Like, I mean, maybe, you
It's
know.
funny that you say that. Maybe we'll talk about that before we get done, but I have something to say about that.
All right, all right. So the last group of characters, the vampire hunters, I'm going to call these guys. So
Mhm.
we're talking about Edgar and Alan Frog. We'll go through them one at a time. Edgar, which is Corey Feldman. How did you think he does in this role?
Feldman, I can't help but like Feldman just because he is so bizarre as an actor. He is always entertaining. He's watchable because of how over the top and eccentric Feldman is. So Edgar Frog in general is kind of like, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with this actor or not, but to me, he's kind of in the same vein as Crispin Glover, who played the dad in Back to the Future. The actors themselves, Feldman and Crispin Glover, are actually more entertaining as people than any character they've ever played. They're just so bizarre. Um, and I will say, but before we get done, that Edgar and Allan, and maybe you picked up on this. I've seen this movie over and over and over. I didn't know that the reason they named them Edgar and Allan was because of Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, there you go. I didn't pick up on that, but you're right. Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, I think the Frog Brothers, basically, I'm going to say they're my favorites. All right. I think
Uh-huh.
he does a great role. I
You love
love,
the military angle.
yeah, I do. And I love the awesome quote when they're in the lair going to kill, they end up killing Bill or Ted or whichever one of those, right, with a stake. And Sam goes, oh, there's all sorts of flies in here, and he says, and he always says it. Corey says it great with his attitude. He goes, flies and the undead go together like bullets and guns. We're on the right trail. so
Uh-huh.
I love how he get once he starts talking, he could be helping a customer at the store. Hey, what do you need? And then someone asks, hey, do you guys know anything about vampires? He's like, oh yeah, like his voice goes down low and he gets
Uh-huh.
really into this role. This is where his true passion lies, right? um
Yeah.
he does a great job. I love him from the Burbs with Tom Hanks. Great movie. Um, Goonies, and of course
Mhm.
Stand by Me. He was in Stand by Me. He was
Yeah.
one of the four kids. I didn't put it together that when I'm thinking about Stand by Me, I had him from this, but I didn't even put with Kiefer Sutherland in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Frog Brothers are my favorites. That leads us to Alan Frog, played by
Mhm.
Jameson Newlander. Awesome role. I love the airborne T-shirt. I was in the airborne infantry. I have to tell you though, when he
Mhm.
wears a beret, it's worn
Yeah.
incorrectly.
Oh,
It,
okay.
and
Okay.
I'm going to say also, it's not worn as stupidly incorrectly as Steven Seagal does
Uh-huh.
in some of his movies, but it is worn incorrectly. We could teach him how to fix that up, but awesome role. And these guys are very militaristic. They take it very seriously. And again, they've got the this is interesting to me. I wanted to bring this up when we're talking about them because they've got all
Sure.
the freedom to do what they do, obviously, because their parents are like two stoned out hippies
Hmm.
sleeping behind the counter of this comic shop. They show them like once or twice, right?
Yeah.
Just in the background. So these kids can do anything. But the thing that gets me when I'm thinking about, they're riding their bikes around and so it's like we're thinking they're younger. They're like
Hmm.
15. I'm thinking you said could it be even younger? I'm thinking these guys are about 15 and they take Sam under their wing. But like then they're at the comic shop and there's like full on 18, 19, 20-year old adults
Hmm.
like hoods shoplifting from the comics.
Yeah.
And these are big people. And these two 15-year-olds, they chase them, they go after them like no hesitation, right?
Uh-huh.
And I love the Frog Brothers as well because they've got no hesitation going into this lair, finding these vampires, and actually just stabbing a wooden stake right through one's heart, like without thinking of like
Yeah. Like
what's
the
going to
first time
happen
in their
here.
life they've done it and they had no hesitation.
Yeah, no hesitation. So I like them because they to go back to maybe Full Metal Jacket, right? They talk the talk and they walk the walk, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I love. What did you think about Alan Frog, man?
I liked him. He didn't have as much to do, but that was kind of his role. He was kind of the straight man to Edgar's over the top drama. I don't think he's done a lot else in terms of Jamison Newlander. He did some of the Lost Boys sequels, which we can get to that in the end. Should have never been done. Uh, and Bone Tomahawk, which is a Western that I have yet to watch, but I know he's in that with Kurt Russell. Came out in 2015.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, what's your favorite part or scene of this movie, man? I mean, this is a
Uh,
big movie for you. You saw it way back when you were 15. You've been loving it ever since. You're a vampire guy. What's your favorite scene, man?
Yeah, this was tough, Gonzo. I like the whole movie, so it was hard for me to pick a particular scene. But I think it would have had to have been when David and his gang first took Michael to their lair, that hotel that was destroyed in the earthquake. It was when they gave Michael David's blood to drink, and we find out later it was David's blood. They
Yep.
reference that. There were just so many cool lines in that scene. You had the song from the soundtrack, Cry Little Sister. They slowed down some things in the scene, but it was playing in part of it. So and of course, the main character, I'll say he's the main character because he has such a cool name, Michael.
Yeah.
Michael, Michael, Michael. How about you, Gonzo?
All right. So my favorite scene is the end. The ending where it's favorite because it just brings it all. It clears everything up. But I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
The ending when Grandpa. How does Grandpa know to drive through the damn front wall of his cabin? He's just like something's going on. He can see
Uh-huh.
it. I guess he sees the windows blown out or whether this
Yeah.
is why it's so good to me because he's just like, oh, something's going. I'm going to bust through there and save the day, and ends up killing Max, impaling him right. Um, and he gets right out. The why it's so great to me. He gets
Hmm.
right out, and they're like, Lucy's like, uh, Grandpa, are you okay? Or Dad, or whatever she calls him.
Yeah.
And like, is he okay after this crash? And he slowly goes to he gets like a Dr. Pepper or something, in the glass bottles,
Yeah.
that old style, and gives you the big quote. You talked about one thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach:
Yeah.
all the damn vampires. And for me,
Uh-huh.
that's so great because it's funny. It ends the movie, and I'm also thinking like, why didn't you tell anybody, bro? This is your family. He just let them all figure it out. And there's some strange things going on in his house, and he's just walking through, and he's probably just thinking like, yeah, they're probably trying to get mixed up with these damn vampires. And he's just like, he didn't feel the need to step in yet or something. So I love the end. I love that quote. It makes it for me. So
And they do hint around. You bring up a good point. They do hint around, just like you remember when he said, "Hey, you want to go to town and get in his Ford Fairlane?" And Sam gets on the other side, and then he said he starts up the car, and then he turns it back off, and he's like, "Hey, I thought we were going to town." He said, "Yeah, that's about as close to town as I like to get."
exactly.
And so they give you little hints that he's kind of dialed in, that there's some bad things happening. I wanted to bring up, and it did not end up happening. And I know it's crazy, but I thought at the end they want to give a big surprise. And the way that Grandpa, like you said, he's walking to the refrigerator, he's cool, he no stress. And I thought, is he going to turn around and be a vampire? Like there was just this weird vibe. Everything quieted down. You can't see his face. And
Yeah.
throughout the movie, it's when you can't see people's face and then they pan back to them that people were turning into vampires. So that ended up not being a thing. But I remember when I first watched it, I said, is this dude going to end up being some kind of vampire?
Yeah, yeah. I could see that. I could see
Uh,
that. I'm glad he didn't though. I'm glad he wasn't, right?
yeah.
So, all right, man. So, least favorite part or stupidest scene. I'm going to
Hmm.
start here. And you brought it up already. The bubble bath scene. It's
Yeah.
lame. Thumbs down.
Hmm.
Who the hell takes a bubble bath? That is a guy that is not 3 years old or
uh,
less, right? So, like, I same thing. It hit me. Michael's like, "Go take your bath." I was like, "What?" Like, because I'm watching it for the podcast, and I'm like, "All right, well, I'm going to really pay attention to zone in here." I never
yeah.
noticed that before. Go take your bath, and then he's listening to the radio,
He's singing.
singing, and he's using the back scrubber as a microphone, and it's like old music that the kid that age wouldn't be. Just lame scene. Why did they feel like they had to do this? He could have been taking a shower.
Yeah.
Michael's trying to turn into a vampire and come upstairs. I don't understand it. I give it a big thumbs down. And another thing I wanted to throw in now that I'm thinking about it,
Hmm.
Corey Haim, he's walking the clothes he wears in this movie are so bad. Like there's 80s cool, like Kiefer
Uh-huh.
Sutherland pulled off. And actually, I'll give it once Michael got the leather jacket on the boardwalk there, and he was like, he's looking 80s cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Dude, he was dressing like the Fonz before the end of it. He had a
yeah,
white t-shirt, a black leather jacket, and a pair of jeans on.
yeah, and sunglasses and everything. And
Yeah.
but like, man, Corey Haim, dude, like there were bad clothes in the 80s. There were
Yeah.
cool stuff. There was bad stuff. Um, and he was wearing like all the bad stuff, right? All the
Hmm.
stuff that you shouldn't be wearing. Now, I've got to give a dishonorable mention, big time. This is almost my stupidest scene.
Uh,
The concert on the beach when Michael's first like looking at Star and makes eye contact with her and decides to follow her.
yeah.
This guy, this big, strong guy who's playing the saxophone is supposed to be, he's so bad. The music is so bad, right?
Hmm.
Um, the music is terrible, and I look him up a little bit. He was mainly known for being Tina Turner's saxophone player at the time.
So he actually plays a saxophone.
He plays the saxophone, and he's a
Oh,
big,
wow.
big, strong guy like that.
Yeah.
He's a musician. I think this music is terrible. And to go to another thing, if you're looking at very minor characters in this film, like they labeled the guys that remember the guys around the bonfire when the vampires first completely confirmed to Michael that, hey, we're
Yeah.
vampires, we're killing these people,
Hmm.
and you're one of us now. And Michael's like a wimp, like crying on the ground, oh, right.
Hmm.
But so like these guys, they are labeled in like the credits and everything as like surf Nazi number one, surf Nazi number two. Now in the 80s, I listen to a lot of good music that a lot of people would not even know, right?
Yeah.
Um, and someone who was labeled supposedly be a surf Nazi would not be listening to Run DMC playing "Walk This Way" when they're partying and drinking by
Yeah.
a bonfire.
I
They'd be
noticed that.
they'd be listening to like Suicidal Tendencies, or they'll be listening to like Slayer, or
Yeah. The
especially being in
Butthole
the Southwest,
Surfers or
they'll be listening to something better,
yeah.
right? Um, Stormtroopers of Death, any of these types of things, they would not be listening to that. But um, it is what it is, but terrible. Like I wouldn't listen to that saxophone player, that big guy singing, and Star was into it and looking up at him like, oh, he's so awesome. And I'm like, dude, this is trash music. What's going on here? So that's for me my dishonorable mention. But the
Yeah.
bubble bath's the worst. What's
Yeah.
your least favorite part, man?
Steve, you will not be surprised at all to find out that I absolutely love that song, Believe, with the saxophonist. It is,
Oh my
I agree with
god.
you, it is corny, but it is quintessential 80s
Oh,
cornball.
it's
I love that song. Listen to it on the soundtrack if you've never heard it. I love the driving beat. I
oh
think
my
it,
god.
oh yeah, but you knew I was going to like something like that because I like 80s pop music. But
Yeah.
hey, I knew you would hate it too, so I get it. In terms of my least favorite, and I'm with you, I love the ending. I loved all the action, the way everything played out. Uh, but sometimes when all the plumbing exploded at the end, and
Yes.
I believe just because one of the vampires died in the bathtub full of holy water, sometimes I think directors get a little crazy with how cool and dramatic they want everything to look without asking, will this make any sense
Yeah.
whatsoever? Like the toilets blowing up and
That's
the
a good one.
pipes are, I said, this is just dumb.
Yeah.
Now it wasn't dumb enough for me to take me out of the movie. I was just like, okay, whatever. Uh, but I liked the movie so much, I really had to reach for something I didn't really care for, and that would probably be it.
Yeah, but that's a good one. That's a good one. I totally agree with you. That is stupid. That was overboard. Now, as I'm watching it, I was like, why are they doing this? Like, I don't need this. The guy
Yeah,
dying and fizzling out in the pool of holy water is good enough, right?
yeah,
They don't need to destroy the whole house over it, right? So,
right.
all right, that's definitely a good one, man. So, additional comments. You got additional comments on that on
Uh,
this
I, di-
movie?
I did want to bring up, and this never occurred to me. I never would have thought about this in a million years, but the Lost Boys got its name from Peter Pan.
Yes.
The story was written by Janice Fisher and James Jeremias, and James Jeremias said one thing that inspired the story was Peter Pan, where the Lost Boys was a reference to Peter Pan's childhood gang. And also, and again, I never saw these parallels. Peter Pan could fly, he only came out at night, and he stayed young forever. And Jeremiah said it made him wonder if Peter Pan himself was a vampire. And
Okay.
I thought, huh, that gives you something to chew on.
No, that's
Um,
good. That's good. Because you think about Peter Pan, people talk about Peter Pan syndrome with people like you might know in your real life. People never really want to grow up and want to stay young all the time.
yeah,
So I got that with the vampire thing, but I didn't put it together until I was reading a little bit about this just off.
yeah, it never occurred to me. And well, we have to return to the saxophonist because he figures prominently in anybody that likes comic books. I left the comic books behind a long time ago, but anybody that's into comics, apparently the Lost Boys comics have acted as a kind of sequel in just the last few years to the movie. And in the comics, the saxophonist is a prominent character known as what else? The Believer.
Oh my gosh,
Oh yeah.
that's
You,
terrible.
now Gonzo's running out to buy a copy. I get it.
Oh geez, geez.
What
So
what do you got?
okay, so you said this already. This was the Santa Cruz, California boardwalk, the boardwalk scenes. So real. You look at some of the footage they got on there, you're like, wow, that's just so 80s beach
Yeah.
town, right? So there were two sequels to this, which I didn't know about at all. The Lost Boys of the Tribe, Corey
Hmm.
Feldman was in that one, and then the Lost Boys of the Thirst, Corey Feldman and Jameson
Hmm.
Newlander were in that one. and playing the Frog Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Both of these movies currently are 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Uh-huh.
So anyone listening, do not go and say, "Oh, there's more, there's others." They're obviously terrible. Have you ever seen them?
I have not. And let me ask you, because I did this last night. Uh, did you watch either one of the trailers?
For those two movies?
Yeah.
No.
Go to Amazon, just click on the trailers, and you'll see why nobody's watched them. And anybody that has, I could almost watch them just to watch Corey Feldman do that character. But the trailers just look so god awful. I can't imagine sitting through that an hour, hour and a half, whatever it is.
Wow. Yeah, they're apparently really bad. Really bad. Not even 1% on a Rotten Tomato. Come on. So
Yeah.
okay, the message from the story, the lesson, the moral of the story. Again, Mike, I gotta tell you,
Hmm.
um, I I can't really find one here besides it's just a entertaining. But maybe I try to say, wait, don't keep family secrets. Like about if you're in trouble, like something like becoming a vampire, tell someone.
Hmm.
And maybe for the mom, the moral of the story is, hey, listen to your children, because he's trying
Uh,
to tell her we've got a big problem. We need to talk several times, and she's just like, yeah, whatever, get out of here. I've had it with you, right?
yeah.
Um, so I'm sort of a lost boy myself here in trying to find the moral of the story here. What do you got?
Well, well, I've told you before, one of my favorite quotes, I'm big into quotes, collecting quotes, and uh, I like, we see the world not as it is, but as we are. So I was going to preface my message or moral of the story with that because this probably says a lot more about me than it actually says about the movie. This is probably not what they were going for. But the vampires in this movie look so free and cool, but they're frozen. It's the same thrills, same night, forever. And it reminds me of my year or so after high school. I was
Oh,
having a great time. I was partying. I was drinking. I was going out. But at the same time, I was seeing so many of my friends who were just moving on with their lives in terms of going to college, getting jobs, joining the military, getting married, whatever. So it's probably just my interpretation. I've referenced this before when I was talking about David. There were these times throughout the movie where specifically David would go from laughing and clowning, and for brief moments, he would get this sullen look on his face, like he was reflecting or remembering a life that he once had, but it's now lost to him forever now.
oh wow. So you're going from a vampire movie to, hey, get off the couch and do something with your life, damn it, because it's wasting away. Okay.
Well, it's kind of like uh, it's like watching these fleeting bits of your life as people are moving in and out, and you're just stagnant, and people are just leaving you.
Yeah.
Because I think you and I would agree that there's almost like an obsession these days with living as long as we can, and or living forever. And it's like, well, it sounds really good till you think about everybody you love, everybody you care about leaving. And I don't know how much interest I have in living that kind of life where it's just me. And even if you make new friends, there's nobody that you connect with that can remember what you can remember and was part of the things that you were a part of.
Okay. Okay. I
Not to
get you.
get too deep at the
Yeah, I get you.
here at the end.
All right. All right. Okay. So what's your overall take on the movie now that you've watched it, not only as the 15-year-old on that summer trip, but now that you've watched it as the adult?
Yeah, we and we've talked about some movies where they really landed with me when I first watched them, and then we go back to like, kind of like a 9 to 5. I think I like 9 to 5 a lot more when I first watched it than right now. For me, this one still love it. Like the vampires, it's eternally cool snapshot, 80s culture, music, fashion, all that. So love it.
All right, all right, very good. So my overall take, entertaining and funny for sure. And now I have in my notes here, but groundbreaking, not really,
Hmm.
right? But I want to I'm backpedaling from that a little bit because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you being the vampire type of guy who
Yeah.
you love these movies. This is one of the first movies where we took the vampire from being the old adult guy who's evil and like has been around for, to like, hey, we got youth in it. like
Hmm.
young vampires, right? And that's a totally different angle. So I think was groundbreaking to that effect, that it said, hey, let's do vampires that are like, you know,
Hmm.
18 or 17. Um, Along with that lifestyle of what an 18 and 17-year-old do, you know, riding motorcycles, listening to music,
Yeah.
flirting with girls on the boardwalk. So it's a little groundbreaking for that, but I think it's just an entertaining. Uh,
Yeah.
like I said, I didn't see tons of message or moral, although you helped me out there a little bit. I'll admit it,
Mhm.
but entertaining, definitely funny, for sure. So
You bring up a good point, Gonzo. So I'll plug a little bit of what you just said. I think you're so right in terms of the age, because in the last few years, anybody that's into vampire movies, there was a foreign film and then there was an American remake, and one of them is called Let Me In, and the other one's called Let the Right One In, and they're both stories that hinge on kind of uh, teenage, maybe 13, 14-year-old kids who meet a friend their same age, and it helps them out in their life because they're being bullied. And this young vampire, they're actually good stories and good vampire movies. But to your point, yeah, you didn't see teenagers or young adults in vampire movies really before Lost Boys came out.
yeah. So that's it was a good concept, I think. So you're gonna watch it or trash it, Mike? What
I
do you
say
got?
absolutely watch it unless somebody just doesn't like horror movies. But to your point earlier, it's really not that scary unless, and I think this is accurate. I do think it would be scary for maybe those 12 and under, just because the special effects are really good. They got some jump scares in there, two or three places. So that might be a little traumatic if you're way young. But other than that, it's just entertaining.
Yeah, I got you. So I'd say watch it. If you haven't seen it, watch it. From then on, when it's on for me, if I have nothing else to watch, if I'm flipping through the channels, and I know a lot of people are saying right now, why is he even flipping through channels? Doesn't he just stream everything he watches? No, actually, I don't. But
Yeah.
um, hey, I was born in the '60s. I grew up in the '80s. I love to go through channels and be on a schedule, right? Like, oh, that's not on till 9 p.m. And I'll wait when my sons are like, what are you crazy? Right? Just go stream it somewhere. And I'm like, no, it'll come out at 9. I have patience, right? So if I have nothing else to watch and nothing I'm planning on watching, and I flip through and it's on, I'm not going to change the channel. So I checked. I don't have this DVD, and I did have to pay $3.99. This is not on Tubi for free or anywhere. I looked
Uh-huh.
and looked everywhere, and I had to
Yeah.
pay $3.99. So
Yeah, we're gonna have to start expensing this.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's right. Get a credit card for us, right? So, all right. So, rating. I'm going to give it a rating. I'll start here.
Yeah.
Remember, we've got the 5 levels, worst through best. Worst is bathroom break. Don't even need to watch it. Then there's no snacks. Just sit and scroll through your phone or read a book while it's on. The middle average rating is a Coke. I'll have a Coke and watch this movie.
Yeah.
Then we've got a Coke and popcorn, which is better than average movie, and then a Coke, popcorn, and a box of Raisinets. Um, that's the best. That means this thing is just awesome. It's just the best of the best. I'm going to give this movie, because I'm not really a vampire guy.
Mhm.
Listen to me qualifying it already, right?
I know.
Try
I
not
can
to
already see
upset
where
you.
this is
I'm
heading.
going to give this movie a Coke. It's an average movie. I'll
Okay.
sip a Coke and watch the movie. Like I said, though, I'm not going to be like, oh, like I paid $3.99 to stream it. I didn't purchase it. It would have been like $10.99. So
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't need it, right? So I'm giving it a Coke. What do you got?
Yeah. I'll be the first to say this is not Citizen Kane. This is not The Godfather. But
Okay,
for what it is and what it's trying to do, I absolutely love it. So I'm going to give it. I'm having a Dr. Pepper today,
okay.
popcorn, and a box of goobers.
Oh, you're
Uh,
kidding me. He
yeah,
went all the way.
and I have to say that because again, for what it is and what it's trying to do for this type of movie. Plus, I have talked about this movie in so many episodes and talked so much about it. I feel like a traitor if I don't give it that.
Yeah, you almost have to back up your words, right?
Right.
From the past. So all right.
Otherwise, I have cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah. Good for you. So all right. And you know what? I struggled with giving it because of the funny moments in the Frog Brothers. And I struggled. I said, "Well, I could give it a little popcorn, maybe." So it's like I've got a Coke, and then
Yeah.
and if you're sitting next to me and you have popcorn, I said, "Can I
Right.
have a
So
little bit
some
of
of
that?"
that's fallen over on your,
Some of
yeah,
that I can have a little bit of that if you let me, right?
sure.
So a little bit better than average because it's entertaining. It's
Yeah.
entertaining and it's a fun movie. So all right, man. So looks like we're wrapping up that movie, Mike. We've got it a little bit of a different ratings here. I gave it average. You gave it the best rating possible. So,
Yeah.
um,
And let me say
yeah,
before we close out, if anybody has not heard this soundtrack, do yourself a favor right now. Go to Apple Music, go to Spotify, go where you got to go, and listen to "Good Times" by NXS and Jimmy Barnes. I think it's just an overall really good song, almost no matter what kind of music you're into.
and it's got someone covering "When People Are Strange."
Yep.
It's not the Doors. It's someone's covering it, but interesting too. They had that big poster of Jim Morrison in the lair there, so we can talk about that. So,
Yeah.
and what are they trying to say? Jim Morrison, maybe he was a vampire. I don't know. So, all right. So there we go. Thanks for listening to Gonzo Mike and a VCR. If you enjoyed it, please follow or subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. So if you have a movie you'd like us to watch or just have a comment, or even if you just want to dig through your old trunk and send us an old 80s concert t-shirt, go ahead and shoot us an email at gonzomikevcr at gmail.com. That's GONZOMIKEVCR at gmail.com. I'm checking that once a day. Additionally, feel free to leave comments on your listening platform. Spotify, especially, we've got some polls coming out on Spotify. So if you've listened, go back and listen and see what our poll is and give us some votes. So, and we'll bring that up. So we'll respond to comments as well, whether it's Spotify, Apple, etc. So let us know your thoughts, answer those polls. We've got some clips out on some of them too on Spotify. So go to Spotify, look up at the top where the bell is, click on the bell, and you're going to get notified when a new episode comes out. And also put the little square to the left and click on it, and it'll give you some pretty funny stuff that's coming from these episodes here. So let us know your thoughts. We'd love to get some back and forth going from you. So also we're on YouTube now, and you're allowed to give us likes and comments on there too. So glad to be on there. So in our next episode, it's a Steve pick. So we're going back to serious, Michael. We're going to take a look at a 1986 war film written and directed by Oliver Stone. So tell them what it is, Mike.
Gonzo, we've done Full Metal Jacket a few weeks ago, so we are headed with Charlie Sheen back to the military. We're going to be doing Platoon.
There you go. And it's funny because Charlie Sheen's in that movie, and it makes you remember, like, was Charlie Sheen on set maybe back when Apocalypse Now was done and back in 79, where his dad was the main character? I don't know, man. I could see that. I guess we'll find out as we do a little bit of research. But yeah, we're going to check Platoon out. And we'll get that out as soon as we can. We're definitely going to get this episode out because you promised everyone last time, Mike, before Halloween here. So
That's right.
we'll do that. So, all right, folks, that's a wrap. I'm Gonzo.
And I'm Mike.
Until next time, keep watching movies. Gonzo, Mike, and VCR is produced by Gonzo and Mike. All rights reserved.